The U.S.-led coalition against the Islamic State group said on Monday that it had killed a senior jihadist involved in the executions of an American aid worker and other Western hostages. Abu al-Umarayn was accused of involvement in the November 2014 beheading of Peter Kassig, 26, a former U.S. Ranger who was doing volunteer humanitarian work when captured in 2013. He was killed and more information will be available after a full assessment. Sean Ryan, spokesman for the U.S.-led coalition, said in a statement issued after the Sunday strikes, al-Umarayn had given indications of posing an imminent threat to coalition forces and he was involved in the killing of American citizen and former U.S. Army Ranger, Peter Kassig, he said. Ed and Paula Kassig, parents of Peter Kassig, who was confirmed dead on Sunday, in November 16, 2014, after ISIS released a video showing that Kassig had been beheaded. Picture, AP photo source. al-Umarayn said the jihadist had also been involved in the execution of several other prisoners. It is the first time the coalition, which has been hunting down IS fighters in Iraq and Syria since 2014, has announced the killing of a jihadist leader linked to Mr. Kassig's death. At the time of the execution, ISIS released a video showing Mr. Kassig's severed head but did not publish footage of the decapitation, as it had done for other hostages. Syria's official Sana news agency had earlier on Sunday accused the U.S.-led coalition of firing on Syrian army positions in remote eastern regions. The American coalition forces launched around 8 p.m. 1800 GMT this evening several missiles against some positions of our forces in the Ghorab Mountains south of Suqna, it said. Quoting a military source, it said the bombardment had caused only material damage. The Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said coalition forces fired more than 14 missiles at a Syrian army convoy as it was passing through the desert. The group was lost in the middle of the desert around 35 kilometers from the Al-Tanif base. The observatory's director Rami Abdul Rahman told AFP, the United States often uses this base to launch its strikes against ISIS jihadists. Mr. Ryan, the coalition's spokesman, denied any strikes targeted the Syrian army. False, the strikes were, as the report stated, and directed at ISIS, he said, using another acronym for the jihadist organization. Mr. Kassig founded a humanitarian organization in 2012 that trained some 150 civilians to provide medical aid to people in Syria. His group also gave food, cooking supplies, clothing and medicine to the needy. He took the name Abdul Rahman after converting to Islam. His execution was part of a gruesome series of Western hostage beheadings that ISIS filmed and published to shock the world as it attempted to expand across the region. Before Mr. Kassig's decapitation, which ISIS announced on November 16, 4 other hostages were executed by ISIS. British aid worker Alan Henning, video released on October 3, British aid worker David Haynes, video released on September 13, U.S. journalist Stephen Sotloff, video released on September 2, U.S. journalist James Foley, video released on August 19. Another hostage held at the time and whose execution was threatened was British journalist John Cantley. His fate remains unclear. After expanding to control a self-styled caliphate, straddling Syria and Iraq which was larger than Britain, ISIS suffered a string of military setbacks. It has virtually no fixed positions left in Iraq and is now defending a few pockets in desert areas of Syria, including the region where Sunday's strikes were carried out. The other is the jihadists' main active front in the Hajan area of Deir ez-Zor province, where coalition-backed Kurdish-led fighters have been struggling to flush out a group of jihadists making a fierce last stand. The coalition has estimated around 2,000 jihadists remain inside that pocket. The International Alliance, as well as the Syrian government and its Russian backers, have all repeatedly vowed to carry on the fight until achieving a full victory over ISIS, but analysts have warned that fully eradicating the jihadists from those desert hideouts, where the state has a very limited footprint, could prove almost impossible.